Hello, my dear fellow valuers. After completing our first two parts of chapter 1, chapter 8, which were valuation of real estate and income approach to value, now we are going to start our next session on market value to approach. Till now, we have covered 17 marks of theory and numericals and examples and case studies pertaining to those chapters and topics. So, let us start. So this, as per IBBI syllabus, these are the topics which we are supposed to cover for 7 marks of theory: types of market, market survey and data collection, sources of sales transactions, comparison of sales instances, factors of comparison and weightages for adjustment in value, hedonic model and adjustment grid model under sales comparison method, land characteristics and its effect on land value. This part we have already covered in previous sessions, but we will reiterate for the benefit of newcomers. Hypothetical plotting scheme for value of large size lands, residue techniques and other development methods, and valuation for joint venture development of property. This entire topic on market valuation is very important. Number of numericals and examples and case studies will be discussed. So we'll cover this entire syllabus along with examples and case studies in upcoming 5 sessions. So first concept is, what are the different types of markets? Broadly speaking, there are 3 types of market conditions in real estate market. Number 1, buyer's market, seller's market, stable, or also called balanced market. 1 mark question can come out of it. So let us see what are these markets and what are their characteristics. Buyer markets, when number of units, here unit means the actual units along with the alternative and substitute properties available to the buyers are far in excess of demand, it is called buyer's market. So the keywords are, number of units available for sale is much higher than the demand and buyer has more bargaining power. So this 1 mark question can come. Then in buyer's market, buyer has more bargaining power, seller has more bargaining power, either of two has have bargaining power, neither of two have bargaining power. So this type of twisting questions can come out of it. Next is seller's market. It is just opposite to buyer market, when demand of unit is in far excess of supply of units. It is called seller's market. So here unit means and includes all alternatives and substitute properties also. So here demand from the buyers is much higher than the number of units along with substitute and alternates available for sale in the market. So here seller has more bargaining power. So in buyer's market, buyer has more bargaining power. However, in seller's market, seller has more bargaining power. So third type of market is stable market, or it is also called balanced market. So what does it mean? Sometimes in spite of some demand and supply in the market, so there is some demand and there is some supply in the market also, buyers defer to purchase properties, leading to artificial stoppage of demand in the market. So buyer may defer purchase of the properties because of a number of factors, like buyers are expecting that prices are likely to go down. Buyers are expecting that housing loan interest are likely to go down. So there could be a number of factors, right, because of which buyers may tend to defer the purchase of the properties. So classic example of this deferment factors causing deferment is COVID scenario. So people are expecting that they may have unstable income in near future, so they may not like to buy properties at least for some time. So in such a type of market, prices neither fall nor increase. In such market, no material transaction take place. So since majority of buyers have already decided to defer the purchase of properties, so number of transactions which are happening in the market is very less, and whatever few transactions are happening, that do not affect overall price of the properties in the market. So it may happen at a very low price or very high price or some other price. So one of transaction, if happens in the market, doesn't change price of other properties in the market. So stable or balanced markets tend to last for shorter amount of time than buyer's market or seller's market, because these factors which cause deferment of purchase may not tend for long time. So what are the different types of properties? Next topic as per IBBI syllabus is, under market approach they are following two type of properties. So marketable property and non-marketable property. Marketable properties are like flats, shops, offices, factories, etc., which can be sold and purchased. And non-marketable properties are like schools, temples, museums, public government buildings, municipal public utility, fire station, hospitals, monumental buildings, which are normally not being sold and purchased in the market by owners. So we'll see while doing the valuation, we will see how these two categories will have impact on the valuation of the properties. So before we'll go ahead with the other concepts and topics of the market approach to valuation, there are two important concepts related to economics which will be helpful for us to understand this topic. So though in detail we will cover these two topics in economics chapter, however for the benefit of better understanding, to ensure better understanding of this chapter, these two topics have been covered here. So first we should understand the demand and supply curve. Since we are doing market approach, so demand and supply curve we have to understand. So this is the graph of demand curve, and this is the graph for supply curve. And the intersection point, the point at which these demand curve and supply curve cross each other, is called equilibrium price. So demand curve states that as price increase, so x coordinate is quantity and y coordinate is price of the property. So as price increase, quantity number of properties or demand for the property decreases. So that is why this demand curve is like this, having downward slope. Supply curve states that as price increase, supply increases. So as price will increase, so property prices increase, more buyers, more owners tend to sell their property. So supply of the property in the market increases, right? So equilibrium price is the price where both demand and supply are equal. So that is the equilibrium price. So next concept related to market approach is bell curve. So on this curve, x coordinate is price of the property and y coordinate is number of buyers or sellers who are ready to buy or sell the property. So since each buyer tend to buy properties at lowest price, this ABC curve defines the buyer's curve. Since each seller try to sell at maximum possible price, that is why DEF curve is called seller's curve. So this is buyer's curve, this is seller's curve. Each buyer want to sell property, want to buy property at a lowest price, and each seller want to sell property at highest price. So transactions do happen between buyer and seller in the price range of F and C. This is F and C. This is the price range in between which the actual transactions between buyer and seller happen. And this dark patch, dark zone, is called bargaining zone. It is also called dark zone or bargaining zone. So this 1 mark question can come out of bell curve. In a perfect competition market, transaction take place at ideal price of G. So this is G. So if every information is known to everybody, all buyers and sellers, so all transactions will happen at this price range of G. Now let us start with market approach to value. So market approach is based on principle of substitution. So this is the 1 mark question which can come. So we substitute the properties and try to find out valuation of the subject property with the help of other properties. So there are two broad categories of market approach to valuation. So number 1 is sales comparison method, and number 2 is development method. It is also called residual method. The market approach method are not useful for non-marketable property. So we had discussed about marketable property, non-marketable property. So marketable properties are like hospitals, temples, monuments, all those properties which are not being transacted in normal course in the market. So next is factors affecting the valuation or value. This we have already covered in earlier session. However, just to reiterate quickly, there are 4 major broad categories of factors affecting value of a property: social, legal, economic, and physical and technical. So social factors are like situation and location of the property, locality of the property, whether it is poor class, middle class, or posh class, living standard of the resident in the locality, the civic amenities, population, how population is growing or reducing congestion, degree of congestion, density in the area, population density in the area, prestige aspect, who are staying in neighborhood of my building, the racial habitation, Parsi, Hindu colony, etc. Personal factors, sentimental consideration, Vastu, Feng Shui, etc. And then could be stigma factors which affect the valuation of the property. All these factors fall under category of social factors. Next is legal factor. So what are different legal acts, now reforms and acts which are applicable on the property may affect valuation of the property, like coastal regulation, urban land ceiling regulation, rent control act, property act. Then any litigation is pending against the property, any effect of any existing encumbrance like mortgage, easement, lease, tenancy, etc., which may affect further transfer of the property. Economic factors, demand and supply of the market, then macroeconomic, inflation, deflation. This we will cover in economics session, chapter on economics. Boom, recession of the property market, government policies related to interest rate, parallel economy, availability of loans from banks, employment level, wages, income, etc. So, and last is physical and technical factors for the land, size of the land, shape of the land, land or plot, topography, vista we have already covered in session number 1, first session, soil type, frontage, plot area, etc. So first topic, first method of doing market valuation is sales comparison method. So this is a popular and common valuation methodology for real estate valuation. The sale comparison approach can be particularly helpful when a property doesn't generate lease income or that information is not available. Thus, this method estimates market value for a property using recent sale data from other similar properties. This approach is generally recommended for non-income fetching but marketable properties. So this 1 mark question can come out of this, that sales comparison method can be used for non-income fetching but marketable property, income fetching marketable property. Third option could be non-income fetching non-marketable property and income fetching non-marketable property. So you have to click on answer non-income fetching but marketable property. Sales comparison method is based on principle of comparison and substitution. So market approach we had discussed that an overall market approach is method is based on principle of substitution. However, this sales comparison method is based on principle of comparison and substitution. So again, this 1 mark question can come in exam. So what are the different types of sales comparison methods? Following are the 5 main techniques: adoption of weightages, hedonic pricing model. It is also called quick and ad hoc comparison technique. So you have to remember both the names. Examiner may ask a question by asking any method. Adjustment grid model, price quality regression technique, weightages score system. So as per IBBI syllabus, first three models are applicable. So we'll discuss only these 3 topics. 4th and 5th we will not discuss. So theory on these 3 topics along with case studies and example will be covered in upcoming second session in the series. The second category of market approach is development method, or also called residual methods. So whenever capitalization rate of land and building are different, and out of following 3 data, which is value of land, value of building and value of property, at least 2 data are available or calculatable. Either we can calculate these 2 data out of these 3, or these 2 data are given straightforward. Then third value can be calculated using these methods of residual method or development method. So there are different types of techniques within this category. 4 possible scenarios are possible. Number 1, land residual technique using direct capitalization, building residual technique using direct capitalization, and third scenario or set of techniques is land residual technique using cost and sales comparison, and fourth scenario or category is building residual technique using cost and sales comparison. So again, theory and examples and case studies on these 4 topics and these techniques will be covered in upcoming 3rd session on market approach to valuation. Next set of topic given in the IBBI syllabus is hypothetical plotting scheme for value of large size plot. If plot size is very large, then how to value that large size plots using hypothetical plotting scheme. So hypothetical layout method or plotting methods are basically to estimate fair market value of a large area land pieces on the basis of sample sales data of small plot, where recent sale data for similar large size plots is not available. The small plots can be fully developed, partially developed, or open plots. So if we have a big piece of land, so normally big pieces of land do happen on in a very less number in a market. So we do not get sales instance for large plots. However, we can get sales instance for smaller plots also. So to calculate value of the large plot with the help of small plots, so this is the technique which we can use. So again, the theory and example and case study on this topic. This is a full-fledged topic, and multiple techniques are there, like belting method and other methods are there. So recessed land method, belting method, multiple methods are there of doing this plotting scheme. So we'll cover all those topics in our upcoming 4th session on market approach to valuation. Now next very important topic is valuation of joint venture development of property. So real estate joint venture is a deal between multiple parties to work together and compile resources to develop a real estate project. So a real estate JV is like MOU or joint agreement between two parties who work together and bring their resources together to complete a real estate project. So JV allow real estate operators to work with real estate capital providers, which are called entities that can supply capital for real estate project. So a real estate joint venture normally has two separate parties. So JV has two type of parties involved. Number one, operating members. Number two is capital member. So who is operating member? Operating member normally is an industry expert who is responsible for the daily operations and management of the real estate project. And capital member is usually a financer to the large project. And he normally finance a major portion of the project, or maybe he may finance up to 100% of funding of the project also. So this joint venture and their concepts and example case study will be discussed in session number 5 of market approach to value. So that's all for today's session. Thank you very much. And for upcoming sessions, before I'll tell you what we are going to have in our upcoming session, I would request you to please subscribe to this channel and click on bell icon so that you will be immediately notified about the next session which I'm going to upload. So session number 2, upcoming session on market approach to valuation, we are going to discuss about theory and example and case studies on adoption of weightages, hedonic pricing model, adjustment of grid. All these three methods are sales comparison methods. Then third session we are going to discuss about methods of residual techniques or methods of residual methods and development method. These 4 methods which we are going to discuss with example and case study. Then session number 4 we are going to discuss about theory, example and case studies on these 5 methods of hypothetical plotting scheme. And last session, 5th session of this series, we are going to discuss about structure of JV, what are the different types of JV agreements, then JV development methods are also there, and what are the example and case study on the joint ventures. Thank you.